Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Office Hours. Happy Friday. I'm Crystal Hinkle. I'm part of the team here at Syncro. I'm going to let the rest of the crew introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brandy. Nice to see you all.
Hey, everybody. It's Hannah. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. I'm Andy. I'm one of the product folks here. Welcome aboard.
Yes, we are super excited to have Andy join us today. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we just kind of like rock and roll because we've got a lot to do today. We do use the Q&A as a team. So if you see us glancing or looking somewhere else, that's what we're looking at. But if you have any questions as we're going, please use the Q&A. If we have any sort of assets or information we want to share with you, we will drop that into the chat and you can pull that so that you can use that later. The chat does go away once the broadcast is done, so make sure you grab those while we are all here. So we have kind of an exciting day. So of course, as you can see, we've got Andy here, and I'm sure most of you know who Andy is. He's joined us several times on Open Office Hours and also has the smooth as butter voice that you hear on our feature release videos. And so we're super excited that he's here. We actually are going to have him walk us through policy inheritance. So we have been very, very excited to show this off. It's absolutely incredible. This is really kind of a revamp of the way that we handle policies here at Syncro. We hear you. So we've heard that, there are scenarios where, it's hard to see where all your assets are. It's hard to know what you're monitoring and what you're not. It's also really hard to be flexible as your clients are. So your clients might say, I need to make this one change on this one asset, and it could take you an hour to figure out where that one asset is, what monitor is applied, and how to change it without changing all of the other assets. And so we have been listening, and we're super excited to show this off. So without further ado, I'm just going to hand it right on over to Andy, and I'll kind of watch the Q&A as he is going along. So go for it, Andy.
Well, thanks, Crystal. I just want to take 30 seconds and kind of tell everybody what we built and why we built it. We were really trying to build something for MSPs, particularly for smaller MSPs that could grow right along with us. And then Open Office Hours sees a ton of people considering, migrating from other platforms, and we always encourage them to come here, ask questions, see what we're doing. And as a former MSP myself, I know how difficult it can be to switch from one platform to another, especially when you have larger customers with very complex infrastructures. And we wanted to make sure that you don't ever have to come onto our platform feeling that you have to jerry-rig any aspect of it to make it work for you. So currently we use a one-to-one relationship between assets and policies, meaning if I have 5 assets, I need to assign policy A to one, policy B, so on and so forth. And this completely blows that up and allows us to build complex structures with different offices and different sites and different types like servers and workstations. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into that now, but that was our core focus, is making sure that you can grow or migrate over to us at any level, regardless of how big or small your MSP might be. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. What I'm showing you all is the old policy builder. I'm going to call it the old one. It's currently the new, the current one for all of you. And everybody's got that pet peeve of theirs in a software, even with Syncro. I'm aware. This happens to be one of mine. I never liked this UI, so I was dying for a reason to kill this, and finally we got to do it. One of the things that was always problematic with this is, in this instance, it's aptly named Splashtop. This is all that this policy is going to do. But if I want to know by looking at it what it's doing, I actually have to scroll through a whole bunch of stuff that this policy isn't going to do, just to find out the one thing that it is going to do. So we wanted to get rid of that and basically make this significantly more streamlined. And we've done that with this new policy builder. So this is a completely new UI. Functionality is largely the same as it was before. And when you go to create a new policy, I've made this nice snazzy video with apparently my butter voice or whatever Crystal said I have there. So that's going to be a bonus apparently. And every time that you open a new policy, this will be here. So if you need a refresher, it's going to be basically what I'm showing you all here today. Now off on the left, we've broken everything down by category. So let's say that we want to add a monitor. It's super simple. We're going to, okay, what kind of monitor do we want to add? Let's add some alerts. Every time you add a section to a category, it's going to go ahead and add a counter so you can easily see visually what's happening at any given category level. Now within alerts, it's like, cool, what kind of triggers do you want to monitor for? Well, let's do application crashes. Let's do HD smart failure. Easy. If you decide you don't want something, it's super easy just to get rid of it. Or if you wanted to get rid of the entire section, you can just kill the entire section if you wanted. Let's go ahead and add that one back. So if you want to add a different monitor, let's do drive monitor. So cool, this is exactly how I'd set it up, 15% on my C drive, and I'm going to auto-resolve the alert if that gets fixed. We'll add a couple other things. Let's add our new Splashtop integration, so that's good to go. Syncro backups is awesome, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that on here. And I'm going to go ahead and save this policy. And then what you're going to see is this is now the default view for every policy, this policy overview. And this is a read-only view that you're going to see the moment you enter into any policy of exactly what this policy does. But more importantly, it's nothing the policy does not do. So it's one click into exactly what's going to happen from any given policy. So in terms of what you're seeing here with the alerts and turning on backups, AV, anything that you see here, it's 100% what we had before. There's nothing new here. There's no behaviors. There is one exception to that. And I know this is going to sound a little stupid, so I apologize. Bear with me. I assure you it's not. With our old model, we had two states in the policy. This is, of course, enabled, but when I uncheck it, this is actually ignored, not considered, however you want to say that. And it basically says, you didn't turn it on, so you don't care about it. So we're not going to tell the asset about this setting at all. Policy inheritance adds a third state. So this is enabled the same as it was before. However, this is now disabled. And that's an important distinction. And it's really a requirement for policy inheritance, because what this is going to do is, if you have this particular item enabled at a higher level in the inheritance tree, this is going to override it at whatever level you apply this policy to for anything that falls below it. So it could be enabled above, it'll get overridden and then disabled for everything below. And I'll show you the inheritance tree here in a minute. And then the old method of basically ignored, not considered, now just means don't add it to the policy. If this doesn't exist, the policy is not considering it, same as before. So that's the only key difference. Other than that, it's just a streamlined UI that I hope everybody loves it as much as I do, but if I'm the only one that loves it, that's still okay, because I really didn't like the other one. So as I mentioned before, assets are no longer fixed in that one-to-one model anymore. So all policy management is now done at the customer level, which is what we're looking at here. We're looking at this mock customer. And we're going to have this new assets and policies tab here. And every single customer is going to have a fixed immutable top level folder, meaning you can't rename it. It's always going to match the name of the customer. And you can see here that I actually applied a policy to it. So this is my top level policy. This is kind of like what 90% of all your customers are going to have by default. Now, your exceptions are what inheritance is all about, but the core is what this top level policy is for. This is everything I want everybody having in almost every instance. And what that means is I can add any number of assets to this folder or subfolders to this in any arrangement I want. It gets pretty deep. You can go 5 subfolders deep, and within any level, you can have as many folders as you'd like to customize it however you like. But no matter how complex I make this, we're always starting here with this top level policy. So let's take a look at more of like a standard customer. So in this instance, I've still got my top level policy, and I've got 2 subfolders I made here, one to put my servers into and one to put my workstations into. What's not normal is normally like here, I'd have a servers policy and I'd have a workstations policy. I changed that just to give you a better example of how this works. So what's going to happen here is both of these subfolders are getting everything in my top level policy. This one, which only installs Bitdefender, is going to be added to the top level policy. And it's going to form something called an effective policy. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I want to know what's happening at any given level, I have this show effective policy button here. So since this is only going to encompass my top level policy, this is what it's doing. I've got some monitors, I've got Splashtop, live chat, because live chat's awesome if you're not using that, third-party updates and Windows updates. Pretty simple. This is what I want everyone to have. So if I were to look at the effective policy of this level, it's going to be all the same stuff, except it's going to have Bitdefender also. And sorry, this is a test account, so I don't have Bitdefender wired up, which is why you see this. But you're still going to see my monitors, my Splashtop, everything else I had before, plus Bitdefender. If I was to do it at this level, it's very similar, but you won't see Bitdefender. You'll now see MCSoft and all the same stuff that we have in our top level folder. That's how inheritance works. Now, within each folder, this is where assets are going to live, and this is what an asset will look like. It's within this level, you can still look at the effective policy, but I don't need to here because you can see that there's no specific policy I'm applying at this level. So it's still going to have my top level and my Bitdefender. What's important to know is that you can assign a policy directly at the asset level, and that basically acts as like a final exception, like a one-off you want to add to it, or you want to override from one specific policy. You can go that deep if you wanted to. Now, under here, it's the same idea. I've got my demo workstation, so it's going to have my top level policy and MCSoft. And this is where inheritance really can save you boatloads of time. So instead of trying to go jerry-rig a special policy, like you had to before, you had to duplicate a policy, and then you had to add backups to it. And the more exceptions you had, the more you kind of had to duplicate policies. And if they were customer-specific policies, you wound up with a whole lot of policies to manage. Well, here it's super simple. I added a subfolder here, and I put a backup policy on it that doesn't do anything but add backup to it. And everything is drag and droppable. So you'll see here, I can move this stuff wherever I want. Same with folders, same with assets. So I'm going to drag this workstation right into the backup folder. And now it's off installing Syncro backups. It's that simple because it's saying, hey, I'm getting everything here. I'm getting everything here. And this says put backups on. So I'm going to do that too. If I decide I don't want backups on this asset, I can drag it back into my workstations folder. And it's going to warn you saying, hey, you've got backups enabled. You sure you want to do this? Yep, I'm sure. We're just testing it out. And now backups is getting removed from that policy. It's that easy. It's drag and drop, and it does it all for you visually, which is what makes this such a massive time saver. So this is what I hope all of our smaller MSPs grow into, and all of the larger MSPs are already doing on a regular basis. And this is kind of a real life example I took from my days as an MSP. So here you've got a bit larger of a customer. They've got their West Coast office, and they just opened a new East Coast office. So I've still got my top level policy for whatever I want being deployed to this customer. And you'll see at the West Coast office, they don't have anything extra. That's everything they need. The East Coast office, I used to have set up like that, but this created a problem. So I've taught all my customers that I want their ticket ingestion to happen through our live chat module. I love that feature. It worked great. It works great for large customers especially. So that's the way I was taking all my intake. What happened was my MSPs on the West Coast, these folks are on the East Coast, so they're coming in at 9 o'clock, sending me live chats, and it was giving them a bad experience because I wouldn't come in till 3 hours later. And one of my texts is like, cool, I'm going to answer this question right away, except now they're not responding because now they're at lunch. And then they finally respond and we're at lunch. And then they respond once before they go home for the day. And it just makes it untenable to manage it that way. So in order to rectify that, I had to teach this office that they're going to do email the ticket, and they're kind of the exception to the rule. And so I just made a policy that hid their tray icon because I don't want them seeing live chat. Now you could do this differently where you could just remove live chat from the tray too, however you want to do it, but this is how I handled it. Other than that, everything is exactly how you would expect. I broke their servers up with my server policy and their workstations with the workstation policy. Both of these subfolders are having the tray icon hidden, so I don't have to worry about is it going to be enabled at any given level and managing at that level. As long as it's enabled at the top or disabled, whichever, it's going to flow down to anything within this inheritance tree. Now, my West Coast office threw me for a loop. I had the same idea. I had servers and I had workstations. And then because of COVID, they could say something like, hey, some employees are now coming in part-time to the office and I'm expecting that they're going to be working after hours. Well, that's no problem. So I fixed a new agreement with them and I added their home computers to the computers that I'm going to manage for the West Coast office only. However, for anyone who's ever made the mistake of calling your customer from your actual cell phone, you'll know that you're getting like calls at Christmas morning. Oh, I know it's Christmas, but I can't turn my monitor on and all sorts of nonsense like that. Everybody's got those stories. It's the same thing with something like live chat. If they're working at 10 o'clock at night, they're assuming you are too. And so they're going to be sending live chats over. So at this level, I'm like, I'm going to turn live chat off for these home computers. Because it's not turned on at this level, it's only going to apply to any assets in my home computers folder. Servers and workstations are still going to have it enabled. So again, this is kind of like more of a real life example of how easy it is to manage this stuff at any given level. So a lot of folks have been asking, hey, when you turn this on, what's going to happen? And I totally understand that this is a massive feature that touches virtually every aspect of our platform. So I'm going to kind of go over what's going to happen. In terms of when this physically gets enabled, this is what it's going to look like. We are going to go into every one of your customers, and we are going to look at every asset within that customer. So let's take this specific customer, and we're going to look at every single policy. I know this sounds like a lot, but every single policy applied to every single customer within that level. And so in this instance, let's just say that all of these assets were fixed with two policies, either a server policy or a workstation policy. We're going to go in and we're going to create subfolders matching the names of those policies. So this would be part of the migration process. This is where you'll start. We'll create a folder for servers. We'll create a folder for workstations. And then we're going to assign the matching policy to each folder. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take every respective asset and put it in the right folder. So what happens in theory is all of the assets are getting moved from the old model onto the new model, but nothing is physically changing with the structure of the policies. They're going to have exactly what they had yesterday the moment that you enable this. So for folks that are worried, like, hey, I'm in the middle of a project, if you turn this on, like I'm a little bit nervous about looking at a brand new UI when I've got all this other stuff going on, you don't physically have to do anything on day one. You can take your time to do it. In terms of how we're going to roll this out, it's going to be very similar to what we did with Splashtop. It's going to be a limited deployment. So a few folks are going to get it on day one. We're going to keep increasing it, so on and so forth until we've hit every one of the customers. If your day comes up, you're going to get an in-app notification saying, hey, it's now available for you. So everybody's going to know the moment it hits their account. And I think that rollout is going to take about 2 weeks. And I think we're going to start actually rolling them out to everybody in about 2 weeks. That's a general time frame. And the one caveat to this, it's going to be brand new that we've never done before, is we are giving folks the option of determining when it's physically going to be enabled. So in the admin settings under RMM preferences, and I don't have it here to show you, I apologize, there's going to be a setting which is basically like enable policy inheritance, and it's going to tell you exactly what's going to happen when you do it. When you turn it on, it's going to be like a migration flow of doing what I just explained to you. It's going to take like 4 or 5 minutes, and then you'll be on the new model. Now, we're going to force that on everybody about 30 days after you receive it. But if you're worried that you have to make changes to recurring invoices or you don't have time to do it on day one, you've got about a 30-day window after we roll out the toggle for you to physically turn it on. So you should never feel that like day one you're screwed for some reason because, you know, all hell breaks loose, which happens from time to time as an MSP, as you all know. So you should be able to manage this in a way that makes sense for your specific business. Now, the only other big change I want to talk about is when I mentioned pet peeves before, everybody has one. I happen to have two. This was the old, well, this isn't working, sorry. Well, this is the old installer model when you went to create a new installer. And it basically was this giant modal of every policy you had, and you had to drill into it. And it was kind of a mess. So we've drastically cleaned that up. And this is what it looks like now. So this will be a kind of a new thing when you first turn it on. So let's say, okay, I'm going to put it in my my standard customer here. This is the customer. This is actually going to be a list of all the policy folders. So I can be like, cool, I want to dump this right into the servers folder. And as soon as it installs, that's where it's going to go. And it's going to go ahead and put the effective policy of whatever is going to get applied at this level onto this asset. And then you just pick whatever installer you want. And you've got, same thing, you've got your buttons to grab the downloader. You can copy your public link if you want. Now this is all handled in one easy control. And this is what you'll see throughout the platform. So there's a couple other areas where you might see something like this. Like when you go to add a installer link to a ticket, if you have like a customer that wrote in and you wanted to get them an installer link easy, this is what you'll see there. If you go to migrate an asset from customer A to customer B, you'll see the same thing. You'll now be able to pick what policy folder it's going to go into. So again, something that I'm super happy to see done finally. And then the last thing I want to talk about, and it involves money, so it always gets me all excited because as everybody that knows me knows, money is like my favorite thing in the world. And this is our recurring billing system. And for anybody who is not currently using this, I highly suggest you take a serious look at this. This is probably the biggest time saver in all of Syncro, and it's probably the best dynamic billing system on the planet as far as RMMs and PSAs are concerned. And the reason that's the case is that we will take everything that you have and dynamically count it. And it could be assets with custom fields, assets belonging to a particular safe search. You want to build by employee or contact, or contacts with particular custom fields, backup licenses, storage. You can do AV. If you do our PAX8 integration, you can roll Office 365 licenses into this. And when I say dynamic, I mean exactly that. If I have 10 assets on a customer today and I'm billing them $100 an asset, they're getting an invoice for $1,000. The next month they get billed, if I add 2 to it, they're getting billed $1,200. It does all that without me having to figure it out. And anybody who is just starting off can attest to how much money they've lost by like adding and removing stuff and forgetting to bill it, or a customer gets pissed because you overbilled them because you didn't adjust this correctly. Once you set this, you never have to do it again. It literally is so easy. So I will always take advantage of this. And with policy inheritance, it's no different. So we added this new recurring type called the policy folder. And now you can actually bill any rate you want for any policy folder that shows up for this specific customer. And that's exactly what I did down here. So I said, cool, anything that falls in my server folder, I'm going to bill them $150 a piece. And I've got one from that customer I was showing you before. For workstations, I'm going to bill $100 a piece. So you can see the total estimated is $250. And I've got one here. Tomorrow, if I move an asset into this folder that wasn't there before, or I add another asset and move it into one of these folders, next time they get billed, this is automatically going to be updated for them. So for folks that want to know, like, hey, what are you adding? Because we're getting this question a lot about how can I restructure my billing? This is how you do it. This becomes so simple because you can take an extremely complex customer that you're billing 10 different rates for if you wanted to, and it all boils down into this. This folder costs, this folder is getting billed for this much. This is getting billed for this much. You set it and you never look back again unless you want to change prices. So that's kind of the feature end to end. I'm sure people have a litany of questions. Happy to take on anything y'all got.
Awesome. That was amazing, Andy. Thank you so much. We've gotten a lot of comments in the back end as you were chatting about how people are excited. They want to be number one on the list. I wish it worked that way.
Put my Venmo up, somebody. We got that going.
Those spots are being sold right now. No, we really appreciate it, and we are as excited as you guys are for this. So I do have a couple questions in here that I'll go ahead and take, and then I think some others do. So Bradley's asking, how do I find which invoices have the old RMM package? So you guys are probably, you received an email if you did have anyone that was being billed that way previously by policy. So he said, I didn't think I was using this, but got the notification that I do. Is there any way to find these affected invoices? So yes, there is. Let me just share my screen with you really quickly and I'll show you. If you go into your invoices section, if you pop open the recurring invoices, in the type, you're actually going to see that asset counter. So any of them that say this would be just like your dynamic billing per device, there's also going to be some in here. I thought I had one that was billing, yes, RMM package. So you're going to see right here on the type if you are billing that way for any of those, and then you can pop in and change those. So hopefully that helps. Also, while I am here, I think there was a question about the chat hours. So you're not able to schedule, this is off topic, but you're not able to schedule the chat hours. What I do want to show is here in the policy section, when you're setting up chat, you can definitely set up an unavailable message. So if you're not available, I think it's after 3 minutes they would receive this notification. But you can also set up your notifications in the notification center to say, if a chat comes in, you know, and maybe you're not at the office, maybe you're not on the computer right now, you actually do have the mobile application that can, you could chat from, but you can set up how you want to get notified. So there's going to be 4 different notification sets for chat in here. So if you want to get like a push mobile notification, then you can absolutely do that. And then the last one that I'll take is, will existing policies be migrated to this new view, or do we have to recreate completely? I think Andy did touch on this, but you will not have to completely redo everything. Everyone will be migrated to this.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. And I'm gonna kind of roll through this Q&A and have Andy tackle most of these. Gavin would like to know, can I make a policy above the customer level so the same policy applies to multiple customers?
Yeah, that's a good question, Gavin. And I apologize. That's like the one thing I skipped over, and I don't have the UI to show you, but it's getting delivered in like a day or two. So the answer to that is no. However, there is a way that you can bulk assign policies at the top level, and it'll have two varieties. You can be like, I don't care what I have set before, override every single one with this policy. You'll be able to do that. And you'll also be able to go, like, if you went through 50 and you're like, okay, I got all my customized ones, everybody else is the same. You can set it to set the top level policy only if it's not been assigned yet. So both of those will be available. So it'll be really easy to do that in bulk. So you don't have to worry about having like an account level one above that, so to speak.
Okay, perfect. And then just kind of a follow-up, because this is also from Gavin, but I believe that this is related from Shane as well. And I would love to get some clarity here. Also, which direction is the override? And then, like, I think secondary to that is what items are inherited versus overwritten.
Okay, so let me find one here. Let's do this one. So let's say that hide tray icon is an override. So basically it always works from top down. So we've got this, and then we're going into this, which is nothing. And then we're going into this, which is hide the tray icon. And if I had folders beneath this, or I had assets beneath this, they would all get this override of the tray icon. And it didn't matter if this is a single policy with the override, or it's a huge policy with one override in it, it would apply to everything below it. And then I'm sorry, what was the second part of that?
The second part, and again, I think it's related, but what items are inherited versus overwritten?
So everything is inherited. There is a couple items that we're going to call additive, meaning like the tray icon, Windows updates, third-party updates. That's the three core ones. I know I'm missing one. Scripts. So like setup scripts and stuff, you won't be able to override those. So it'll kind of be like if you have a setup script at the top level, and then you want to have a specific setup script for like the East Coast office. If you had it at this level, it would basically add those together. So same thing with Windows policies. Like if you have a specific Windows policy thing you need to do at like a specific office, but then you have your core one at the top, those become additive. So third-party updates, Windows updates, scripts, and the system tray. So if you want to add like one system tray item, you could do that, and that would become additive. Everything else is on-off overwritten kind of thing.
Okay. That's awesome. I'm going a little bit out of order because I'm picking up on some certain things that you're saying and seeing questions relating. So Bradley was wondering, with one-time setup scripts, will they rerun after the policy conversion has happened? Like if they have that, like a setup script on their policies now, and they migrate to the new policies, will those rerun?
Thinking, no, they should not run because
Okay.
nothing theoretically changed.
Right. Okay. And then I guess like before I'm gonna hand it off because I know there's some other questions here. Before we move forward, just for clarity, because it kind of goes back to the, what's overwritten versus what's not. And now that there's 3 states instead of 2 states of certain monitors. And so like, if they're not checked now on the new policies, they will also just not be accounted for, right? They won't be disabled, they will just be not accounted for. So it'll stay in that same state.
Exactly that. So if it's not checked currently, when you go to the new mod, like as an example with that Splashtop one where Splashtop was all that was enabled, when we migrate you, that's all you're going to see that's enabled. It doesn't bring everything over in a disabled state.
Awesome. Okay. Just want to hop in real quick and then I'll kind of keep going with the rapid fire. Good. Go ahead, Hannah. Go ahead.
The ones I grabbed are on different topics, so I think it would be good for us to finish up this topic.
Cool. Okay. So let's see here. Now we're getting a ton of like policy billing is sweet and they love this and they've been waiting for this. So we're really excited about this as well. This is going to make life so much simpler. Now Adam wants to know, does this partial bill when things are added midterm? So like if you drop an asset to a folder in the middle of the month, I don't believe we prorate. I just wanted to confirm that though with you, Andy.
Correct. It'll just recount at your next recurring invoice cycle.
Okay, perfect. And then Andy, I see you have grabbed one as well. Do you want to hop in on that one?
Yeah, let me find this one. Sorry. Okay, so whoops, sorry. Can you read it, Crystal? Because I just, oh, I got it. I lost my place. Sorry. So Sterling's asking, he says he's missed some and he wants to know if he, basically if he bills, he wants to know if the recurring invoices are cumulative, meaning if he wants to bill like $100 for a workstation, $150 for servers and put antivirus on there and a bunch of different things. Yes, it's all cumulative. Like it really, when I say it's the best system on the planet, I mean it. You can structure it however you want and it will just dynamically count whatever you've got in there, no matter how much stuff is there.
That's beautiful. Okay. So question from Tim, when do policies run/apply?
So, well, okay, so as soon as you install an asset, it's going to go ahead into whatever folder that you have set the installer for and apply whatever effective policy immediately. When you move stuff around, and actually that's one thing I can show really quick. When you're moving this stuff around, you can see that this save changes button lights up. And that's because we don't want you to have like moving a couple things around and it tries to sync with the policies like 400 times. So basically you make all your changes, you save it. And then normally it will go out instantly. If you've got like a huge customer with like 1,000 assets, it might take a couple minutes and you'll see a note. It'll be like, hey, might take a few minutes, but normally it's relatively instant.
Awesome. Yes, and I agree, Daniel. The whole migration sounds like best case scenario and really, really well thought out. So I agree. Thank you for saying that. Bradley was wondering the existing RMM installer links. I know we kind of touched on this for a sec, but this might be secondary. Generated installers we have saved for clients that are being deployed via group policy. Will they still work or be broken?
Sorry, say that one more time.
So existing RMM installer links that were generated.
Yeah, okay. So we're recommending that you all create new installers. However, the outcome is basically going to be if you use an old installer that was pre-policy inheritance, it's always going to get deployed to the top level folder. And because we don't know where you're going to want to put it specifically. So that's like as loosey-goosey as we can do it is at the very top. But we do suggest that you create new installers for this. It would work obviously as you expect at that point.
Okay, great. And I love this comment too from Larry, and this is in regards to the dynamic billing, saying that I'll be able to get rid of all of those saved searches to create a bill. So we're really excited for you as well on that one. Okay, I am going to go ahead and pause here on the policy adherence questions for a sec. We're going to answer some of the other general Q&A because I know a lot of you joined to get those questions answered as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to whoever's next there.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and jump in. It says, hi all, Paul in the UK here. Hey, Paul. I've set up an SNMP monitor for a client that alerts when a printer toner reaches a certain threshold. Is there any way I can generate a report or ticket each month that lists the assets that have triggered that alert so I can place an order to replenish? Hope this makes sense. It definitely does. So I'm going to show you two things. One is going to be the asset activity audit. So this is going to be in your reports section. You will be able to create a specific report based on RMM alert, and then you will just need to search by activity text for that particular SNMP alert. Another thing that you can do is actually set up a automated remediation for that. So let's say in the automated remediations that I'm going to go ahead and go to this one. My trigger is going to be, oh, I got to move my Zoom people. That my trigger is going to be that particular SNMP threshold got breached. And then of course, you're going to want to specify what the alert body text was. Then you could go ahead and send out a custom email address. So whether we're emailing a technician or we're emailing somebody else that is maybe going to order those things for you, you can go ahead and use the asset tags to then specify which device is being low on toner. Hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. I have noticed a couple comments in here, questions about, is this recording going to be available later? So yes, I'm going to guess it's going to be the most heavily watched YouTube video that we have, but it will most likely be available by Monday. It'll be on our YouTube channel. We can drop a link. It may be sooner, but it will probably be there by Monday, and we'll drop a link. Great idea though, for like other technicians that weren't able to join us today. You can pass that around your office. So I think that'll be helpful. And then like Andy said, there's also going to be that video inside of the policies with his smooth as butter voice. So you will have that available to you. Question in here, Hannah just dropped that for you guys. Thanks, Hannah. Corey says, can we add all clients to the portal with MFA auto-selected without having to go through every single client and every contact? So yeah, let me share my screen with you guys. I'm here on the customer page. What you can do is you can actually just select those en masse, and where you see bulk actions, you're going to bulk manage portal users. So you are absolutely able to require MFA just right here. Remember, MFA is required for you all as technicians. It's optional for your customers for their portal access, but you can go ahead and do that. And then you can see, like, I have 3,000 that are in here, so I can choose contacts, customers, or both. So you will have that option. Hopefully that helps Corey. Another thing in here is Paul says, we played around with the ticket dashboard yesterday. Love the color coding based on statuses, but that visual display, we can't see any details about the ticket other than ticket number, the client, and the time since created. Is there any way to flag tickets in the all queue based on status and priority? So I do want to just quickly touch on this, because the more and more I have these conversations with users, they're not aware of that dashboard. So I'm just going to quickly click on that. I'm just on the ticket page view, and then you have this dashboard that, yes, you can color code based on status. Paul is referring to the details that are shown here. Now you can click into the tickets here, but on the ticket screen itself, if you want to click on your little searches, you are actually able to create if you want to create a view, for example, of a specific priority and status, you could actually keep that up. You could have that as a view. That's one way to do it. Another thing that I would recommend is in the admin section, if we go to our ticket automations, you are going to be able to create some different if this and this, then this options. So I could say if it is a certain priority as well as a specific status, then I want it to do this certain thing. So if you want that to send you an email or send the technician, the assignee an email, you can absolutely set up some automations here. So hopefully that helps. That's it for me.
Awesome. I'm going to jump back in here. Thank you so much, Brandy. Paul has a question. We're working on opening the door to email correspondence with our customers. Up to this point, we've been corresponding via separate email. We have been working on the configuration, but I want to make sure the users only receive support ticket emails and are able to respond to those emails. We do not want to have them access the customer portal until we're able to tweak settings that they are able to see. Can you provide some direction on setting up email correspondence without allowing the customers to access their portal? Yep. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Paul, this is going to be a couple of steps, and so bear with me here, but I am going to first go through the places that you'll want to remove access that the end user would see to the customer portal. One of those places is going to be inside your policies in the system tray icon. So inside your policies, you'll want to make sure that the system tray icon does not have the customer portal option. That way, if they clicked into it and they saw like a login or anything, they just don't have access to that. So we'll want to remove that. And then the other place we'll want to just take out like any links to the customer portal are going to be in our PDF and email templates. So in the admin section, under PDF and email templates, you're going to have email templates. So in a couple of our auto responses, like ticket comment emails or when a ticket created email, you might have a link to the customer portal in there. So you'd go ahead and want to remove that. And so then that way, those are really going to be the two places that they're going to have links or access to a customer portal inside the account. Then for your clients, you'll want to make sure that customers and contacts do have email addresses inside the system. If they do not, that you can set up email rules that are domain rules so that when you hit edit here, we can set up a domain rule so that if somebody emails in from this domain, that Syncro knows that this customer is who's the ticket should be open for, as well as it could auto create a contact for you. Then we are going to be ready to edit our ticket preferences. So before we create our mailbox to generate the tickets for us, we'll want to make sure that the correct correspondence is going out to the clients. And so here in tickets and ticket preferences, this is where you can customize what you want them to receive. So do we want them to get ticket resolved emails? In the additional settings, do we want them to be able to get ticket comment emails? That way you can customize all that. Once you've saved those, we're ready to create the mailboxes. So here inside the mailboxes, this is where we're creating our inbound email address so that they can email support at our domain or help at our domain to generate those tickets for you.
Awesome. Hannah, that was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I am going to go ahead and address, there's been a few questions that have come up into the Q&A. If you haven't heard already, we have some super exciting news and amazing things happening here at Syncro. We have acquired Watchman Monitoring. So that announcement did go out yesterday. And for those of you, I'm sure you know what Watchman Monitoring is, but it is a leading monitoring solution for Mac OS and Windows machines. What that looks like for our Syncro community is that these amazing monitors are going to be just seamlessly rolled into the Syncro platform. So it's not going to be an integration. It will be built right into the platform, and we will be rolling that out soon. We're not going to put Andy on the spot today and try to get any other information out of him, but I just wanted to address those questions that I did see in the Q&A. We're super, super excited for us, but ultimately for you, because this is just an amazing addition to the Syncro platform. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Andy. I know I see you grabbed a few questions.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal. And that was Crystal's nice way of saying Andy gets super excited and leaky, and he likes to say all sorts of stuff he's not supposed to say. So Daniel is asking, can you bill NASs and as an RMM at the same price quantity level of workstations with auto billing? Yes, when I was saying you can do anything, I meant it. So if you use this asset counter here, under asset type, you'd have like a custom type for NAS or whatever you want, SNMP devices, whatever. Same idea, you just put it here, you put in your price, you add it, it's going to dynamically count those too. And then for extra credit, for those of you that don't know, we just did our native Splashtop integration. We even added that, so you can enable certain contacts at a specific customer and allow them to access their own machines through Splashtop. And we can even dynamically count that too. You can really do anything with this, it's awesome. Let's see. Andrew's saying, are we at a point where we can expect an ETA policy inheritance? Yes, we are. My guess would be you're going to see the first rollouts coming first week of November. However, like all things, please don't run into support if that doesn't happen, saying Andy told me it was happening, because that makes me look not good. So yeah, please be kind, but that's the current date. And I think, like I said before, I think the rollout is probably going to last about 2 weeks. If things go exceptionally well, it could be a little quicker. If we find anything along the way, it could be a little slower, but I think we're on track for that. And then Jeff is asking, he's saying he currently bills by policy for recurring billing. And he's asking if he's going to have to rework those. And yes, you will. So the notion of any single policy being applied to a specific asset has gone away. And what you're asking is correct. You're going to want to switch to that the bill by policy folder model. However, it's going to be a lot more dynamic, especially if you have a customer who's got 20 different folders. You don't have to worry about billing for every single policy. You just dump the assets accordingly into whatever folder you want, and they'll get billed appropriately without you having to worry about that. I think that's all this. Yep.
Cool. I'll take a couple in here. It was Watchman Monitoring. Someone just asked what the name was. So Watchman Monitoring. Question in here. We've got the ticket dashboard has given me some issues where it doesn't show our custom statuses. I just want to share one thing with you, and keep in mind, if it's still not working, please reach out to help@syncromsp.com. But just by default, I'm not sure if it just shows like the hard-coded statuses. If you click here, you are going to be able to choose which statuses are going to be hidden, as well as which ones are going to be shown in your color here. So make sure that it's not hidden. And then if you do have any issues where it's not showing that, then reach out to support and they'll be able to take a look for you. But just wanted to make sure that we could address that for you. And I think that's it.
All right. I'm just going to ask this one. We just so happen to have Andy here, so I might as well take advantage. Is there a way to randomize a script runtime or set them to run sequentially?
On the first question, no. On the second one, they will run sequentially by design. If you're asking if you can have one script like explicitly trigger another, the answer is no. But the way the queue system works is if you say like run script A, B, C, D, it's going to go in the queue and they'll fire off in the order that you added them. And if you've got them like scheduled that way and you schedule them, you know, a couple minutes behind each other, it'll be the same thing. They'll run in that particular order.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for grabbing that. And then do you want to grab these other? I see a few more, Andy.
Yeah. Gavin's asking if I have any news on Splashtop for Mac in terms of an ETA. Knowing I get in trouble a lot for giving ETAs, I'm going to say the end of the year for sure, if not sooner. And then Daniel's saying, will the toggle that I was talking about in the admin panel to enable it to be available at the beginning of the roll? So he's basically asking if when we roll this out, if everybody's going to see that, and the answer is no. That is effectively the rollout, giving you that toggle. So if we put it out to 500 people day one, 500 people will see the toggle and nobody else will. And like I said, we'll notify you guys in-app when your account comes up. So as soon as you see that in-app come, go over to the admin settings. We'll tell you where to go, and it'll be on for you. You can enable it then.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm just going to grab a few of these. Randy was saying, I've been reviewing some third-party integrations, such as IT Glue or Hoodoo. I'd rather use the internal Syncro wiki. Any plans to add to the wiki system? Things like categories, folders, ability to paste images, etc., would make it much more attractive. And I'd rather have it all in Syncro. So Randy, definitely noted. I know right now there is a way to organize more on using the left nav bar. And you can attach photos similar to the request of wanting to, paste images just in other areas of the platform as well. I know that we're looking into that. So I'll definitely pass this along, Randy, for sure. And you do have obviously Andy here that's listening. I read that out loud on purpose. So just so you know, let's see here. What else do we have? Has anyone else grabbed anything? Brandy, go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Kevin says, can we disable Crystal speakers so Andy can leak some information? We'd have to stop the recording, Kevin. There's a whole thing.
Well, stop trying to get me in trouble, please.
We need Andy here. We don't want him to get in trouble. Bradley's asking, I have not been able to create a portal group that just gives a portal user access to billing, paying invoices. They always have to be given admin permission, viewing all tickets. What's the minimum portal permission groups I need to make it work? So let me just share my screen. There's a couple pieces of this. So the first is in the admin section under customers, you're going to see portal user permission groups. So you can specify, you do not have to put them in an admin group. I think by default, they put them in admin and they have all 26 permissions. But if you, for example, just want them to be able to see documentation or to see their own tickets rather than the entire company's tickets, you're going to be able to specify what they can see here. And then in the actual group itself or contact, let me populate a customer here. And then I'm just going to scroll down. If you get dizzy, close your eyes for a second. When we get to portal users and I add one, it's going to have me populate the contact, and then I can choose, okay, maybe Brandy has access to the limited group. So you'll just need to make sure that you create different groups prior, but you should absolutely be able to do so. And I think that's it.
Awesome. I was going to grab this one from Larry. I turned off the enable leads module, but noticing that when tickets are created, you still see created from the lead. So it is just that's the infrastructure of how the mailboxes work and how they filter through. So you will see that. So just I just wanted to reassure you that that's by design. And then I just love this from Daniel. No need to prioritize this, but I'm definitely going to prioritize this. Just a quick shout out to Andy for being awesome and so active on social platforms. You're the man. So I think that's worth a yes. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate you. Okay. Anything else, or should I start reading some things out loud? Jeff says, hold up. Where do you set the dashboard to custom mode? And I'm wondering if it's just maybe, is that tabs customization? Does anyone want to show that or doesn't?
I thought it was a joke, but like a request. I don't know, Jeff, if that is a request or not.
So yes, so Jeff, what you can do, how you can customize the dashboard at this as of today is that you can customize the tabs up across the top, and you can do that from your admin section and tabs customization. We also have light or dark mode. And then one of the things, Shane, I'm going to read this one out loud because I do want to ask Andy this. Any plans to add the or condition for automated remediation?
Yeah, I don't have a timeline for you, but that's a big thing for me. And it's more than that. Like, I really don't like that you're not able to do that in saved asset searches in a couple other places. So yeah, it's on my list of things I want to blow up, where you can get pretty granular with and or is not equals all that kind of stuff. And yes, it's something I want to do. I don't have an ETA for you, but yes, I want to do it.
Awesome. Okay. And then I believe this is a follow-up, Andy. Do the scripts wait until they finish before moving on to the next one in the sequence? For example, first script run install Chocolatey, and then second script installs apps from Chocolatey. I would need to have the first one finished fully before moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So this is more of a PowerShell thing than it is a Syncro thing, but and I don't know your skill level, so I'm sorry in terms of PowerShell, but normally if you're going to have a script install something, you send the install command and the script is done. It did everything it needs to do. So in that instance, it would go on to the next script. There is a way within PowerShell where you can basically say, install this or run this, and don't continue with the script until that completes. And that's kind of on you to build that into the script if you need to run it in sequence. So you can do it, but it's more, again, it's more of a PowerShell thing than it is an us thing.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead, Brandy.
Perfect. Let's see which one. Oh, there we go. Nathan's asking, is there a way to exclude an individual email address from generating tickets? So there wouldn't be a way to exclude that. You would actually just be specifying, like if you didn't want, I can share my screen and show you the mailboxes here. So if you, for example, don't have them listed as a contact under that customer, or it's not a customer already, then you can pick and choose, okay, I want this mailbox to always, never, only for existing customers. I guess if you had a separate mailbox that they were emailing you to as well, you could just say you never want to create tickets there. I'm not sure if anyone else has anything to add there, but there's not just like an exclusion. So hopefully that helps. And I think I'm going to go ahead and take Adam's. I haven't read all the way through it, but can we add or customize the SMS message sent when we get a voicemail during off business hours? Our system sends a text. Would like to actually get the phone number included in the message so we can begin to search for who opened the ticket. I think you're referring to the SMS message that you all receive, is what I think. So there's a couple different things with customizing your SMS messages. If you're talking about to your customer, then you'll do that actually in the PDF and email templates here. If you're referring to the ones that you receive, you could also use those. I believe that is one of the actions on the ticket automation. So you could put like, I don't know, new ticket status is new and it comes in outside of business hours, then I want to do the following. And here I could send a manual SMS message, and you could pull in like the phone number right here if you wanted to, and use that as, I think there's a phone number in here. You could use that to pull into the message, but that's all I can think of right now.
I'll grab this one really quick from Warren. When invoicing a ticket, you have the ability to add any pending ticket charges. Doing so shows billing status as invoice, but does not link the invoice number. Is there a way to display the invoice number? Also, is there a way to change the status of a ticket to resolved or something else when invoiced, both for the ticket invoiced and the tickets added to pending? And so that's a great question. I'm going to just share my screen. So he's referencing the add any pending ticket charges in the side of the recurring invoice. So inside of here, you can specify a specific status, but once this gets invoiced, it doesn't update the specific status, because like you can see here, a lot of people have where they're pulling in pending ticket charges from a resolved status. And so at that point, they wouldn't have to update it. And so there's not really a way that after it's being invoiced, the status of the ticket can change. And then is there a way to display the invoice number? That's a great question. I wasn't sure the answer to that. Andy, once it gets invoiced from a recurring invoice, does it put the invoice number inside the ticket?
I don't believe it does.
Okay. Feature request at this time, Warren. We'll pass that along.
I just want to pop in really quickly as a follow-up to the question about, I think it was Nathan, about blocking I could be wrong, the email address from creating tickets. So thank you to someone special who's listening today. And they said if you find the email in the leads section, so if you, I guess in the leads, you could mark it as spam and then it would stop creating tickets for you. So you could do something like that as well. Thank you.
I'm going to take one from, I'm sorry, I hope I pronounced your name right, Lanier, I believe. He's asking if there's a way to have a notification to show if the hard drive has been running over a certain percentage for a certain amount of time. There's not like a time-based one. When you say running over, I don't know if you mean in terms of size. If you're talking about like storage in terms of how much is left, it's kind of a Boolean, like yes or no, it's under this amount or it's not. If you're talking about like queue length, then the answer there is no. And we only have a couple minutes left and we're running low on questions. I just want to take 1 minute. I always feel guilty when I do these because like if you knew how many people are involved in a big feature like policy inheritance, it's not super fair for me to come on and be like, hey, policy inheritance is so awesome. And like I get all the credit for it and I kind of get to be like the face of this. And our developers who are not, they're not here, obviously. And I don't really care. Like I need to call them out, like call out like support sales, like everybody who's involved in this. It's so many people are involved in this. And I remember like first writing the spec and I was like, oh my God, this thing's a beast. Like no, nobody's gonna want to do this. And I want everybody to know, like, even if I don't like a label, I have to go to a developer to have that change. Like they're just awesome. And they've been working on this nonstop and they're working on it right now. So I just wanted to give everybody at Syncro a shout out. Like this has been such a huge deal. And I'm so proud of everybody. I'm so excited to get this out. Everybody should be making some serious money with this one or I'm going to be mad. So I just wanted to say that.
You know, I agree. I'm so glad that you said that, Andy. Thank you for saying that. Because yes, you know, it is a team effort. That's for sure. Everything, we work as a team here at Syncro. So thank you for saying that, Andy. And with that said, thank you for joining us today and supporting us today, because there was a lot of questions that came through. So thank you all for joining us. If we did not get to your question, I'm so sorry. Either email us individually or straight to just help@syncromsp.com if it is anything technical. Otherwise, we will be back next week. So thank you so much. Happy Friday. Have an amazing weekend. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Brandy.
Thanks, Andy.
Everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.